All rise.
You may be seated. Court is now in session. We call case infinity. Zeus, king of gods, versus Prometheus, the titan. Is the prosecution ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Before we begin this trial, we must hold this truth, that gods are not equal, yet they are equal here in court. The prosecution may begin the opening statement.
Gods and titans of the court. We, Zeus, the king of gods, accuse Prometheus, the titan, for his heinous crime. Prometheus stole the secret of fire from Mount Olympus and permitted it to man. Man turned it into a beast, causing chaos that the worst demons cannot match. He didn't use fire to eliminate the darkness, but to blow out light. Not to help other creatures out of compassion, but to torture every living soul out of lust. Have you ever seen a predator like that? Even the fiercest of animals only kill to feed their offspring. Those mean humans kill to feed their own dark desires. That monster you created, Prometheus, is the worst thing Cosmos has ever witnessed. You shall dwell in pain and remain in agony as you have caused all those innocent souls to suffer. Your Honor, I demand the sternest punishment to be imposed upon Prometheus. Thank you.
The defense ready to present their opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may.
Your Honor, gods and goddesses of the court, my name is Apollo, god of art, poetry, and knowledge. In this session, we are representing His Highness Prometheus, in the case of His Almighty Zeus versus Prometheus the Titan. My defendant is wrongfully accused of stealing fire and granting it to mankind. And even if Prometheus had done that, mankind has taken major leaps towards civilization, peace, and welfare only when the secret of fire was revealed to them. My defendant Prometheus, throughout his life, wished nothing but the flourishment and welfare of mankind. Your Honor, we're asking for a verdict of innocence. Thank you, Your Honor.
You may call the defendant.
We call Prometheus the Titan to stand. Prometheus, could you tell us your whereabouts and the company you had on the discussed day?
I was taking a tour through heavens, inspecting my lawful subjects. And then I saw something.
Prometheus, don't.
No. It has to be made clear. I have taken fire from Mount Olympus.
It's a confession, Your Honor. It's a confession.
Stand down.
Your Honor, I have taken fire from Mount Olympus and granted its secret to mankind. Fire is an essential tool in man's life, and without it, man will perish. We have created mankind to allow them to survive and to nourish. And what are you exactly, Zeus? Are you a beast?
Beast? Objection, Your Honor. My being is of no matter to discuss here.
Sustained. Please be more consistent about your talk.
Prometheus, could you tell us what you saw that motivated you to take the secret of fire?
I was flying over a village. Its people were so poor that they did not have clothes to shelter them from the freezing weather. But that's their fate. I did not interfere. But I saw a series of events, and they were so interconnected that they had me rethink. I saw a child turn blue and freeze to death. I saw a man, his woman, and his 3 children eaten by ferocious beasts. I saw a whole tribe suffer from gut disease because they had eaten raw meat. I know all the vows we have made here as gods, not to interfere in man's life directly. But it is also our consensus that man's life is our priority and that we should all work for the well-being. Thank you.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
The prosecution may examine the defendant.
Yes, Your Honor. Having stolen the secret of fire, why didn't you give man super strength or immortality? Please answer me in front of all gods.
Your Honor, respected gods, I refuse to be called a thief. I did not steal anything. I have just revealed to man what was already his. It is his right to know the secret of fire. I could have taken all the other superpowers and granted it to them. But you know what? I did not.
Why?
Because all of these superpowers would have harmed man. But in the balance of the common good, fire was the only thing that its merits outweighed all of its harms. I have restored light and warmth to mankind. Our names should be glorified in light and not in the darkness and coldness of this world.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Due to the expected turn of events, the court will go on a recess. And then we will go back to examine the witnesses.
All rise.
You may be seated. Prosecution may call the first witness.
I call Ares, the god of war, to stand here. Ares, the god of war, could you show us how many wars were caused by fire, and how much blood was shed?
Thousands, probably tens of thousands. I couldn't ask for more. The humans are worshiping me and asking for blessings like never before. 750 consecutive years of war between Rome and Persia. 10 years of world war. The Taiping Rebellion of China, and not to mention the countless civil wars. Millions were slaughtered. Whole kingdoms were set on fire, and even women and children saw no mercy.
Can you elaborate more on how dreadful those acts was?
It's remarkable, almost indescribable. They're shedding blood of women and children, laying waste to whole kingdoms. They've even created ways that I could never imagine. Explosions that destroy armies in a flash. Novel that burns men alive. And even more marvelous weapons. I could never be more satisfied since we created humans.
I say it is pretty obvious to the court how terrible the act is that fire caused. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
The defense would like to cross.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may begin.
Ares, god of war, could Your Majesty remember any bloody wars that had occurred on earth before my defendant Prometheus granted fire to the mankind?
I reckon so.
Does Your Majesty have a rough estimation of the number of victims of these wars?
Thousands.
Your Majesty, what's the greatest massacre in the history of mankind?
Objection, Your Honor, this is irrelevant.
Overruled.
It is irrelevant.
Overruled. The witness shall answer this question.
I guess it's the great and magnificent Holocaust.
And how many were killed in this genocide?
As far as I'm concerned, about 6 million Jews.
How could the Germans kill such a huge number? They must have used fire.
What are you trying to do here? Your Honor, we all know that Apollo always had this unjustified bias towards humans. It's obvious that fire is the cause of all violence, and no foolish God will ever prove the opposite.
Order in court.
Apologies, Your Honor.
Let me reword my question, Your Majesty. Was fire, in any means, involved in this genocide?
No, it wasn't. My devoted Hitler could achieve his remarkable genocide with no use of fire at all, but rather left the Jews choking to death in his gas chambers.
Thank you, Your Majesty. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
The defense may call the witness.
The defense wants to call Athenus, god of reason and wisdom, to stand.
Athenus, please take the stand.
Athenus, god of wisdom and reason, could you tell us about beneficial implications for the mankind knowledge of the secret of fire?
Fire, and what humans have done with fire. I have always known them to be that creative. Humans have used fire to improve their lives since Prometheus gifted them. They have used fire to satisfy their basic needs. They use it in cooking, boiling water, and warming their bodies in the cold. They also use fire to protect themselves from predators and to survive. As humans evolved and their intelligence increased, humans have used fire to turn the lifestyle from an agriculture and hunting one to an industrial one. The use of fire developed in the industry extremely. For example, they have used fire and fuel to allow vehicles to travel great distances in a short amount of time.
So, fire was a bliss for the mankind.
It's hard to say so.
Yes or no?
This is not a question that can be answered by yes or no. After all, humans are just animals that we created. They can do both good and beyond evil. Fire is merely a tool that happens to be optimally utilized by the mankind. With or without fire, humans will love each other and kill each other. They will build marvelous structures, yet they will destroy the planet and commit the most sympathetic and the most dreadful acts. As long as humans remain, good and evil will remain on Earth.
Thank you, Your Majesty. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Prosecution would like to cross?
Yes, Your Honor. You may begin. Athenos, we all know how glorious you are, and I do not believe your judgment could be clouded by any selfish motives or desires. Could you show us how man used fire to annihilate the balance of nature I created?
Yes, humans have done such awful things towards the nature and towards themselves. They have burned forests and destroyed green areas just to get wood. Thus, they disturbed the balance of the climate that your Almighty has created. They have also disturbed the balance of Earth by killing animals using fire. That led to these animals' extinction.
Athenos, could you show the gods of the court that man has used fire not only to torture and harm other creatures, but also to harm themselves?
Yes, humans have used fire to torture each other and kill each other in such a shameful act. For example, they have burned Giordano Bruno alive when he tried to reason with them. And when their intelligence increased, they used fire to create bombs, such as dynamite, that could help them in mining. But instead, they used dynamite in wars to eliminate each other.
This is more than satisfactory. As you see, man has used fire to disturb the balance of nature I created, to harm other creatures, to torture them, and also to harm themselves. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
We may now listen to your closing statements. Defense, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. As shown by the first witness, Ares, god of war, killing and evil existed on earth long before fire. He also clarified that fire was not involved in the greatest genocide in the history of mankind. The other witness, Athenos, god of wisdom and reason, explained that fire has several advantages for the mankind. Furthermore, I'd like to remind you of our holy laws. Law number 1 states that a god's first priority is his creatures. Throughout his life, my defendant Prometheus was governed by his high standards and noble morals. He was so good and kind-hearted towards gods, titans, and humans as well. He could not tolerate being helpless before the extended misery of mankind. So, he decided to help them with such a powerful and utilizable tool as fire. I want you to imagine a small human group living in the jungle. Weak elderly people, hungry little children, and powerless women are all scared to death because of roaring, fierce animals around them. A young little girl is shaking from fear and running to her mother. Out of the darkness, her father appears, holding a twinkling flame of fire. He confidently and bravely scares the brutal animals away. I want you to imagine the poor and the shelterless who had a chance only because of factories and workshops which depended mainly on fire. I want you to imagine the faces and hands which overcame the cold nights with fire. Gods of Mount Olympus, I'm urging you to look on mankind with sympathy. Wouldn't you have done as Prometheus did? Wouldn't you steal the fire? I'm done, Your Honor. Thank you.
We may now listen to the prosecution.
Thank you, Your Honor. Gods and Titans of the court. As demonstrated throughout the session, it is obvious how guilty Prometheus is. Humans were overwhelmed by the power of fire that aroused the lust for destruction, a power they could never handle. Man was even able to please Ares, god of war, by all the blood he shed, all creatures he slaughtered, all souls he tortured, and all evils he committed. Man used the fire to sustain his terrible acts on earth, out of wrath and love for power. Humans have summoned the demons of terror and destruction upon this sacred earth. Gods and Titans of the court, we all remember how earth looked like when I first created it. It was like a pretty little maiden. I, the omnipotent God, created it that way. It was so fertile that it bore dozens of beauties before this effete has demolished all this beauty. Your Honor, I demand the worst punishment upon Prometheus to taste some of the agony he has caused. Thank you, Your Honor.
The court will go out for consideration, and then we will announce the verdict at the Parthenon.
We may now announce the verdict. I was called here by the presence of the mighty gods to call my judgment upon the rightfulness of Prometheus' act. It is agreed upon that Prometheus has stolen the fire and handed it to humans. However, humans have benefited a lot since they were offered fire. Fire was used by humans in eating, drinking, and protecting themselves against their predators. Thus, fire has benefited all humans. Humans deserved to be given fire to be rescued from their misery. Humans may have done evil deeds and caused the disturbance of the peace of the world. However, not all wars that were done by humans were caused by fire. Thus, fire was just a tool that can be used by humans in good or evil deeds. Fire is not the root of all evil. I must now state the fact that my judgment upon this case is based only upon these given facts. And after revising all this evidence, I announce Prometheus, the Titan, innocent of all charges. Court adjourned.